Hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, made possible by you paying members at BillWhittle.com, for whom we are eternally grateful. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, as you probably know, let's just get to the, some simple stuff, guys. It's obvious, kind of elementary school things. The Earth's orbit is inclined at 23 degrees to the plane of the Sun's equator, and because of this, the difference between the celestial equator and the ecliptic is about 23 degrees, and that means as the year goes by, the Sun climbs higher and higher and higher into the sky, peaking on the summer solstice, which is usually right around June 21st. And when the Sun is highest in the sky, this is called the beginning of summer, which never made any sense to me because technically that should be the middle of summer when the Sun is highest in the sky. So let's go to the sensible, decent, American, brilliant method of summer is the days between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And so we are now in another American summer, and what I would like to talk to you guys about today is fun. Summer is the fun season. Summer is all about having fun. Summer's going to the beach. Summer's just going out to barbecues and all that other stuff. But I am genuinely concerned about the effort on the part of these control freak weenies to drive all vestiges of fun right out of this country just as fast as they possibly can. Scott, let's start with you. There's something about the bureaucratic mind, and this bureaucracies have really what's been taking over America. That's really been the problem, is this bureaucratic mind. And I think the bureaucratic mind is best summed up in the expression, everything that is not forbidden is mandatory. And we are heading rapidly to a world where the increasing taxes and regulations are going to make America a place where everything that is not forbidden is mandatory. That sounds like outright communism to me.
Well, yeah. A couple of things come to mind. Number one is Ronald Reagan's old story about how when he was a kid, you were allowed to drive the family car on the road when your father decided it. When it was... because it was his car, and he said he wasn't pushing to go back to the days when, auto licensing didn't exist, but he was basically saying we can't understand. A lot of young people growing up today cannot understand how free this country really was. Did that come with downsides, with danger, with risk? Absolutely. Sometimes horrible things happen because things were so free. I was just reading the other day in Bill Bennett's American Patriots Almanac of how there was the first traffic accident happened, and it was a car ran into a bicycle at like 12 miles an hour or something like that. We as Americans, we appreciate the reward as well as the risk, but we're not willing to forego the risk because we think, oh, well, that's too dangerous. I guess I just won't take the reward because I'm not willing to take the risk. That's the difference in this country. And I think that's what's been a magnet for people to this country. There are people around the world who are already Americans. They just haven't gotten here yet. And that mindset is, I want to be accountable for my results. I am willing to extend myself. I'm willing to do the undoable, to think the previously unthought. I'm willing to experiment, to try and do something. And that results in a lot of things, as you've pointed out in the past, just America is the home of the hula hoop and the frisbee and the slinky and just ridiculous, absurd, idiotic, Mr. Potato Head. Nobody needs one of those. But we are the country of fun. We're the first nation on earth that was established around the idea of the pursuit of happiness. And the last thing that I'll say is that in the summer, one of the things we like to do a lot, we try to get out there once a week if we can, is to go over to Louisville Lake, which is this gigantic, I think man-made sort of hand-shaped lake with a bunch of fingers that go off on various streams. And at Little Elm Park off of Louisville Lake, there's a beach, and now they have some volleyball courts in there, and people pull their boats right up on the beach sometimes, these little boats that they're out on the lake in. But what I love about this beach is there's no lifeguard. And you say, oh, well, isn't that a horrible thing? There's no lifeguard on the beach. Yeah, guess who has to watch your kids? Guess who has to be careful about your own well-being? We watch out for each other. We take care of our own families, and we don't have some guy who's, sitting up there allegedly keeping an eye on us, but really flirting with his girlfriend. And it's a great place to hang out, and at least it seems like a little island away from government, even though it's probably owned by the township.
Well, you're in Texas, so there's an awful lot more going on over there. I'm so glad you used that. That's such an interesting segue, Scott, because that's the lever that people use to take away fun and freedom is safety, right? It's all for the children. I've said early, that there's two ways you can prevent your children from drowning, and one of them is to make sure that there's a chain link fence around every large body of water in the entire world, or you could teach them how to swim. That's pretty much the problem, which segues nicely into your question, Steve.
Oh, good.
Out here in the People's Republic of Santa Monica, there's a fine for throwing a Frisbee on a beach, and the fine is $1,000. If you throw a Frisbee on a beach in Santa Monica, you will pay a $1,000 fine. Now, the reason for this, of course, is that an errant Frisbee could come flying into someone's little group of people, or perhaps land on somebody sunbathing, might even strike a celebrity, for God's sake.
Death by Frisbee.
Yeah, that's right. So people claim that my right to sit on the beach without a Frisbee landing on my face means you don't get to fly a Frisbee. And my response to that is, after being here for 30 years or so, I cannot recall of a single Frisbee-related fatality at the beach at Santa Monica. So are we really legislating a problem, Steve, or are we in fact using this safety issue as a means to gratify people who are not happy as long as other people are happy?
Bill, the fact that the beaches in Santa Monica are not littered with Frisbee-dented corpses is proof that the law is working. Wake up, sheeple.
Thank you very much.
You
used to see people with them embedded in their heads, just a disc embedded right in their skulls. Yeah,
like Odd Job. It's with the Frisbee. No, look, there is nothing less fun than a socialist. Bernie Sanders at the grocery store. There's too many different kinds of deodorant. Nobody needs that many kinds of deodorant. Well, shut up, you filthy hippie. You need all the deodorant. Put it all over your body. Do us a favor and stand downwind when you do it. Well, you know what? The Wright brothers, they didn't ask. They didn't have to get a license before they went out to Kitty Hawk and built an airplane. They made the first heavier than air flight. It was an amazing thing. And the really amazing thing isn't that they did that. It's that within months, within years, people were building airplanes and having completely unlicensed contests. Who can fly the fastest? Who can fly the highest? Who can fly the furthest? Who can circle the globe in an airplane? People did this. They didn't ask for permission. They saw, man, those guys flew a plane 180 feet down a beach. I'm going to fly a plane 100 miles an hour to a whole different state. And before we knew it, everything had changed. Air flight changed the world because two brothers that couldn't be told no and couldn't be bothered to ask for permission either. And the same thing happened with the automobile. Nobody said to Henry Ford, you got to ask us permission to make a mass car that everybody can afford. He just went out and figured out how to do it. And before you know it, that created one of the most American things ever, which is drag racing culture, which started in California and is now withering on the vine. It hardly exists in California anymore because the nannies, the busybodies, and the socialists have just run the fun out of what should be, what used to be, the funnest state in the whole union. So, get off our backs. Let us have some fun, because not only will we have fun, but when Americans have fun, we change the world doing it.
Well, this is the day of very fortunate segues, because reason I brought this subject up, not only is it just the beginning of summer, but just a few days ago I had to go get my biannual flight review, which is something that we pilots have to do. The license lasts forever, but our certification only lasts every 2 years. We have to have a medical every 2 years, and we have to have a biannual flight review, which means we talk to a flight instructor, and he spends an hour on the ground going over the rules, and then an hour in the air making sure we can get this thing down without killing other people. And in the course of the biannual flight review yesterday, I was talking about something that's always bothered me, and that is clearances. And it turns out that in what's called an uncongested area, you're allowed to fly. You must remain 500 feet from any person, structure, vehicle of any kind. 500 feet. Over a congested area, it's 1,000 feet high, and it's a 2,000-foot horizontal radius, which means that when I go flying in California, I spend pretty much my entire time constantly worried about whether or not I am in violation of somebody's airspace. Am I 600 feet when I should be 1,000 feet? All I do is calculate whether or not I'm going to get in trouble on this flight. Used to be a time when if you had an airplane in the barn, you could go out and teach yourself to fly. You could go up and play in the clouds. You could buzz your house. And if you went into the trees, well, then that's just Darwin at work. And it's happening everywhere. Strangely enough, I find that that the American spirit of fun is being killed not so much by these regulations, but also by the idea of electronic devices. No one goes out anymore and tinkers with cars. You can't tinker with them because they're all computerized. No one goes out and just goes flying. Everybody has flight simulators. They have online games. Everybody's looking down here. And I've played video games and they're fun, but they're not the same fun as flying or body surfing or riding a motorcycle, and they're not as much fun as a road trip. So in conclusion, I would just like to say one thing a little more philosophically. I love this national anthem of our country. It makes me cry every time I hear it. But I think if it had to go, I would replace it not with America the Beautiful. I think the national anthem of America ought to be Fun, Fun, Fun by the Beach Boys. And I'm not kidding. Because, as Scott pointed out, this country is unique in history. It's the only time in history that a place was dedicated in the world for having fun. People think that's very trivial. It's like, it's actually as profound as it can possibly be. Our European betters would look down on us and say, you Americans, all you care about is having fun. And our response to that would be, that's what enjoying life means. We are enjoying this little thread of life that's given to us, and we're trying to maximize our enjoyment of it. The fact that you're not doesn't make you morally superior to us, and certainly not intellectually superior to us, and you're kind of a drag, so just bug out. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I would just urge all of us on this beginning of the summer, going through the 4th of July, which is kind of the emotional peak, and all the way down to Labor Day at the end. I would just ask everybody out there to, number one, have as much fun as you can. Number two, let your kids go out and play on things that they can fall off of. I didn't know a single kid who died of a broken neck. We saw a couple of broken bones, but that's the price you pay for having a good time. Because if fun leaves America, it's not America anymore. And it's just that simple. For Steve Green, Scott Ott, and the rest of the Right Angle crew here at BillWhittle.com, I want to thank all of you paying members for your membership that makes the show possible. And if you're not and you want to be and get extra right angles and all the rest, you can go to BillWhittle.com and hit the Become a Member button. We will see you next week. And if I didn't have to pay for the rights, I'd be running Fun, Fun, Fun to get us out of here like right now.
Just try to take my T-Bird away.